This happened during the summer vacation when I was in the first year of junior high school. I usually stayed at a relative's house in the countryside with my parents and older sister for a few days. But that year my older sister was involved in a car accident, so my mother stayed to take care of her, so my father and I went alone. After arriving at my relative's house, I didn't even say hello, and I didn't like being with my father and other relatives partly because I was in a rebellious phase, so I took a walk near the house by myself until dinner time. I've been coming here every year since I was in elementary school, so I know most of the neighborhood, but when I go back to the countryside, I'm always greeted by adults. Children should never go to a shrine. I remember being told a shrine has been around for a long time, but I have never been there. A long time ago, when I asked my father why, it's a place you shouldn't go until you're an adult. I was told nothing. When I was wondering what to do because I was scared of being alone, Biko asked me, "What are you doing?" Child B lived near my relative's house, and because she was close to my age, she was always playing with me when I went to my relative's house. When I told Biko about Shrine A, she decided to gather some of the neighbors to test her courage. And at 2300 that night, I secretly slipped out of the place where the adults were drinking and headed to the meeting place with Biko. There were C-Man and D-Man who had met several times, and D-Man's younger sister, Iko. Everyone seemed to think I wanted to go to a shrine once, so they participated. A shrine is about a 20-minute walk up the mountain from the village where the relatives and B family are located. Everyone in the place was stopped saying, "I'm still a child, so I can't do it." And they didn't even tell me the exact location, but if it's an approximate location, I can guess it if I live there. I decided to go back as soon as I saw a shrine to some extent so that the adults wouldn't find out, and I headed there under the cover of darkness. On the way to a shrine, I felt a sense of excitement and a little bit of fear. But with so many people, there wouldn't be any ghosts, and I thought that adults were saying that because it's in the mountains that it's dangerous for children to go there alone. However, when I finally arrived at what I believed to be a shrine, and saw the Torii gate, which was dingy with a desolate atmosphere, I regretted having come. There was something extraordinary about it. I thought about going home, but I couldn't leave B and C, so I had no choice but to follow them. Shrine A is very small, and when you pass through the Torii, there is a small shrine 2 meters ahead. Child B is, is this all? When I raised a disappointing voice, C-Man, "I'm not scared at all," said. D-Man, "Let's go home." Child 2, "Mothers will get mad at me," said. When I was about to agree with D-Man and Iko's opinion, to my surprise, C-Man opened the shrine door before he could stop me. And when I thought I was looking inside, I said "Gah" and covered my mouth and fell down on the spot and rolled left and right. Not knowing what happened, Man C was groaning at the partition and started scratching his throat with both hands until it was bleeding. The rest of the people were frozen at the strange sight, but Iko said, "I'll call you Grandpa." Since D-Man was dangerous, I followed Iko, so I and B stayed behind and held down C-Man's hand so that he wouldn't scratch his throat any further. Man C is 2 years younger than me, and he's slender, so I thought 2 women would be able to hold him back, but his power was unusually strong and he shook me off many times. After 10 minutes, I heard a few people's footsteps, and D-San, Iko, and their grandfather, F-San, rushed over. As soon as Mr. F sees Mr. C, my throat, and shouted to D-Man, "You, go with the village chief and call your grandmother." I instructed, and to us, Iko, XX me, and Biko are in danger, so go home. And told us to go back to our respective homes. I was worried about Mr. C, but more than that, I was scared to be here, so we each went home as Mr. F said. When I arrived at my relative's house, the story was already well known, and my father, "If you go that far, you'll be told you're wrong." I got very angry. I said that I wanted to go, so I regretted that C-Man ended up like that. Because we didn't explain it properly either. C-Man's throat was bitten by you, but he'll be fine because he'll take care of his grandmother. He comforted me. When I asked what Nodogami-sama was, it seemed that the kanji characters for it were written as throat-chewing sama. It is said that Nodogami-sama originated from a parent and child who had been discriminated against in this village a long time ago, and finally had nothing to eat and starved to death. At that time the child, "I'll bite their throats, I'll make them eat nothing, I'll make them suffer the same." I gasped while saying that. It seems that it became a curse word, and children in the village scratched their own throats one after another and vomited blood and died. It is said that a traveling shaman cleansed it and sealed the remains of the parent and child in the original shrine of a shrine. Since then, there have been rumors that children should not approach Shrine A, but once a child like Man C opened the shrine to break the curse, scratching his throat and dying. There are many adults who have opened the shrine, but for some reason, all of them are safe. And it seems that the person who is called Obato is the bloodline of the shaman who first sealed Nodogami-sama, and it seems that there is a role to rule in case of emergency. It's unbelievable, but I couldn't help but believe that I was actually seeing that sea man. My father and relatives told me that my grandmother would do something about it, but I couldn't sleep because I was worried about it, and it was morning. I heard a knock on the door, so I thought it might be the old lady I had heard about, so I opened the front door and found her standing there. And, Man C made it in time. I just said and left. It seems that my father contacted my mother, and I decided to go home that day. Since that day, I've been careful until I grow up. And even if I go back to the countryside, I'll only be there for half a day, and soon I'll go home with my father or mother. It seems that B, D, and E were scolded for going to a shrine without permission, and after that, adults began to look around to make sure that other children did not approach a shrine. Rice Field. C-Man was hospitalized for a while, but he seems to have recovered completely and there is not a single scratch left on his throat. The shrine and shrine are still there, but since that day, even after I became an adult, I haven't been near them at all. It is an event that is still burned into my mind that it certainly happened in reality, not a dream.